Alrighty, here we go. My name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I wrote this book here called The Jossman Method. Finally starting to get some people to read it and like it, which is kind of cool. That's just how it goes with books. If you don't have a following already, sometimes it takes a while for people to grab them. This one hopefully will be out pretty damn soon. Been waiting on the publisher on that. Reviving Masculinity. I've been doing lots of things as far as the show goes here to support the books. I mean, that's, very frankly, that's why I started the podcast. My publisher told me after I wrote the first book, well, you need to do things to support the book. You need to do things to market the book. And they wanted me to do a blog. And I'm like, man, that sounds, shit, it's just more writing. I got to get it onto a different format. At least that made sense to me. So, that's what I chose to do. I chose, hey, you know what? I like Joe Rogan. I'll make a podcast of my own. See how that goes. That's how it started. But, of course, the things morphed a little bit. It started out, I just was really talking strictly to the first book. I mean, I didn't really do anything other than that. I just talked about the book. But it didn't take more than a few weeks, and I was really branched out into other areas. And the podcast kind of became its own animal. And then came time to write a second book, and that, I think, reflects the show a lot more. And now the show, for a while, is going to have to kind of support the book a little more. And then eventually the next book will, they just kind of go back and forth. And anyway, that's how it's going. Had a great weekend, had a lot of fun. Got to get out and, go out and be social on Friday night, which was pretty nice. It's been nice outside here in Michigan. Last week I put a whole tank of gas through my motorcycle, which is cool. 3 separate rides, couple hours each. Man, it's been nice. I'm ready to get back out and get on the road, and I just missed it. I forget during the winter how much I like to ride. And anyway, cool to have that back out. I got this t-shirt from my man Sven Erlandson. You guys, listen to the show where I talk to him. Really impressive guy. Really great ideas. I got a lot of good feedback on that. Had a cool conversation with my buddy Joe about that particular episode here just a couple days ago. And that was neat to hear his feedback because he's a real smart guy. And, hearing what he thinks is important. And, he picked up on the fact that I didn't always exactly see eye to eye with Sven. Sometimes he's over here and I'm over there. And that's okay. That's perfectly normal. But, that's why those conversations are good. I mean, in my mind, it's not, I don't know, it's kind of not fun to just talk to somebody that you agree with 100% of the time. You got to have some common ground, or else, there's nothing to connect with the other person with. You can't relate to them unless you have some things in common. But eventually, those conversations have to diverge, and there've got to be, hey, I think this, and you think that. Cool, I want to hear why you think that, and hopefully you want to hear why I think the way I do. Maybe we can learn something from each other. I mean, that's been the direction I've tried to go here. I've got a couple shows coming out. I'm kind of leaking out little kind of teasers. I got some stuff out there with Regina DeSantis, the divorce coach, and I'll release that show next week. I think that one comes out. Anyway, that's all recorded and wrapped up. I got my show with Matt Stevens in the box, or in the can as they call it. That's ready to go. Same thing. We had mostly we were on the same page, but we diverged in a couple areas and had a really good conversation, and I got to know the guy. He's a pretty cool dude. So that's the direction that we're going. I've got keep reaching out to Dr. Warren Farrell, see if he'll get on here, which would be awesome because he's only one step away from Jordan Peterson, which would be, like, to me, that's the mecca, if I get to talk to him. So anyway, that's where we're going with all that stuff. I'm pretty excited about it. I wanted to talk about today the specific concept of appreciation, and it is chapter 5 in my new book. I talk a lot about that in chapter 5, and I wanted to kind of share kind of a little insight into why that's important to me, and what's a little bit of what's in the book about it, and hopefully that will inspire you to do the same thing. I mean, appreciation is a fairly simple concept, but in a lot of ways can be very difficult to access. And let me apply it here. When I talk about appreciation, I think that the most appropriate place to apply it is just flat out daily life. flat out daily life. For me, I live by myself. I work remotely. Especially in the winter, I don't see a lot of people. I go to the gym during the day. I don't talk to anybody there because that's all business. I might go grocery shopping, and I live in an area, Southeast Michigan, where people want to just be anonymous. If you go talk to them, they think you're weird. So you don't really talk to people. You don't talk to people much. So it's easy to lose track of what you have going on in your life that is good. And I think this is common for lots of people. It's easy to do that. I can look at my life and mostly be, I appreciate it if I think about it, but just in my daily interactions, maybe I don't. But, the few occasions that I've had a guest come to my house and basically have a peek into my life. I always usually get the same comment, wow, you got a really nice setup here. You got a really nice life. It's cool how you can do things, And I forget that, because especially in the winter, it's dreary. It's not daylight much. It gets dark early. There's lots of things about northern hemisphere, northern states that, it gets darker sooner and gets gray and it's cold and it can get laborious. You're not outside. You can get a little cabin fevery and you forget to appreciate what you have. And again, having a guest over, and I had a visitor come over on Friday, which was cool. And she just had cool stuff to say. She's like, wow, this is cool. Oh, look how big your backyard is. That's awesome. Oh, you built a deck. That's so cool. Like those positive things remind me, oh, yeah. Because I can remember each of those things that I did as I did them, choosing this house because of the cool backyard. A couple springs ago, building that deck and feeling really rewarded by that. Remodeling my house and feeling really rewarded by that. But then you're in it for long enough, you kind of forget. You forget how cool it was. You forget how satisfied you felt as you accomplished those tasks. And that, I think, it's not exclusively male, but it's definitely a male thing to want to accomplish, to want to achieve, to want to, keep climbing the ladder, so to speak, however you want to define that. For me, it's, hey, I've made my life better today than it was yesterday. And it might be a daily thing, but usually it's bigger than that. Like I take the winter kind of and I look back what I did over the summer. I made a great amount of money. I built all new decks on my cabin. Like I can list off all the things that I did and how I made my life better than it was the winter before. And that's cool, but I mean, you get to March, it's still kind of cold out. You're getting tired of that. I need to get out and accomplish some more. You know what I mean? And I've been talking to my guy up north who gets me all of my construction and painting work. And he's teeing it up. He's like, yeah, dude, you're going to be booked. Like your whole summer is going to be full. So get your crew ready. And that just gives me the tremendous sense of like excitement. You know what I mean? A little scared. You always have that little bit of scared, which is fun. That, hey, maybe these jobs are big and it might be difficult and who knows what's going to happen. But, it's going to be great. Every day I'm going to work hard. I'm going to come home. I'm going to feel great, So I look forward to that. And that's me appreciating the things I've put in front of me in my life. And can you do that? Well, shit, you better be able to. I mean, I hope you're making your life better today than it was yesterday. Lots of times when I ask people how they're doing, oh, it's the same stuff, man, just doing the same stuff. Well, I hope that your same stuff that you've put in your life are things that move your life forward, that make you better. I hope that. Every time I hear somebody say that, I'm like, well, I hope you're improving. I hope your savings is going up or your debt's going down or your kids are getting stronger, something. I hope that stuff's happening. I hope it's not exactly the same. I hope that you're getting better. And to that end, I think about religion a lot. Because it's a thing that was never in my life, but most people have that. They have some sort of a background, whether it's just they grew up in it or they're actively practicing or whatever it might be. Religion's common as fuck, and it's all over the world. I mean, humans, since the beginning of time, basically, have had some sort of a faith-based situation. And, man, I see the upsides in that. I really do. First of all, it's the faith piece. Well, what's faith? Well, it's a belief in some things that you can't prove. It's a thing that you don't know for sure is going to happen, but damn it, you believe it will. You know what I mean? That's what faith is. Maybe you don't have any real tangible evidence, but you believe it might happen. And you think that this thing that's going to happen is going to be good. You'd think you'd have faith in positive things, right? Not negative things. And I understand that concept. I think faith is like, it's huge. When you consider the human condition as a whole, Well, you got to have faith. You have to have some belief that what you're doing is inherently good, that you're moving forward, that you're improving, that there's some sort of a goal or a series of goals. You must believe that. And so that is very appealing, I think, and when it comes to religion, that there's this thing that you can't prove, but believing in it feels so good. You know what I mean? I get that. I mean, that makes sense to me. I look at, like I just told you about my work for the summer. I don't know for sure any of those jobs are going to come through. Nobody's signed on the dotted line yet, but according to my guy, Nick, who's a great dude, they all sign at the same time, and basically that's as soon as the snow melts. They're like, all right, let's go. You know what I mean? And then they all sign up, and we're good to go, and we'll be working. So I have faith that that's going to happen. Nick's got faith. I have faith in him, and I have faith in the process. So that's going to be all right. I think the same thing with every part of my life. My goal now, like I told you, is to get the hell out of the city and move up there, move up north, and get into a cool old farmhouse or build a house or whatever I'm going to do. But I want some space. I want a barn. There's some things I want in my life, and this subdivision lifestyle that I live right now ain't it. You know what I mean? It's good, and I'm proud of myself for doing what I did here, but there's a next step, and I'm ready for that next step. And I have no tangible evidence that this situation that right now is just a dream in my head is going to actually happen. I just know that I'm going to work hard, so I'll probably get there. And there hasn't been a thing in my life that I've wanted, for the most part, that I haven't gotten. So I have faith in that. So that's the faith piece. I know I'm kind of getting off track here, but the appreciation thing, that's what we're trying to talk about today. Another piece of religion that makes sense here is the prayer, right? I mean, what do you do when you pray? I don't know. I'm not a prayer guy, but from what I've seen on TV and heard others talk about, what do? You let's talk about it. You got a big meal. You got everybody there. You hold your hands or you don't, and somebody says grace. And what do? They talk about what they're thankful for, what they appreciate. And there are hundreds of self-help books out there that revolve around that idea of appreciation, of taking, like when I talked to Shane Fichter, the MMA fighter, a couple weeks ago, he specifically said that it's part of his morning routine is to meditate and say out loud things he's appreciative for. What does that do for you? It puts your mind in a state, very literally, of I'm thinking about things that make me happy. I feel like that's a habit. I feel like the more you do that, the less you're thinking about things that make you unhappy. I mean, it's so simple. It makes so much sense. It's so basic. But so few people, I think, really do that. I got to make myself do it. I got to consciously go, you know what? No, I'm not feeling great. Maybe I'm a little hungover, or it's a real rainy day, or whatever. There's a ton of things. No. There's all this shit that I am thankful for, right? I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to do what I'm doing right here. Help some people, make your life a little bit better, help you get your shit together. Thankful for that. Thankful for the ability that I polished it some and made it better, but I just was naturally, I could write, and that's because my parents can write. They're both really fucking smart, you know what I mean? And my dad taught English, my mom taught English, So yeah, that I didn't really earn that, but I have it. It doesn't mean, just because you didn't earn a thing doesn't mean you can't appreciate it. I'm 6 feet tall. It's not like I did tallness workouts. I'm just 6 feet tall. I'm happy for that. If I were 5'5", I probably wouldn't like that very much. You know what I mean? I'm sure I'd adjust to it and that'd be fine. But you see what I'm saying? So that appreciation piece, I think, is key. And how does that extrapolate out? Those are just the daily things. But I had this experience, and I talk about it in the book, that really made me think more deeply about appreciation, what it is and how it works, and what those daily habits I just talked about, how they can expand and extrapolate out and really fuck with you in a big way if you're not doing them right. And here's what happened. So last football season, I did a lot of scouting. So I was driving and all over the state of Michigan, videotaping football games and watching pre-games and taking notes and talking to coaches and talking to fans and talking to announcers and learning all I can about these teams. That's what scouting is. It's not just look at film, it's learn about the team, right? So I'd get there, I get to the games early, and you kind of watch. You see how the kids interact with each other, see how the coaches interact with the kids, how the coaches interact with each other. And you figure some things out. What kind of a culture do we have here? How do these people treat each other? How do they love each other, or don't they? And so I'm there early. I'm at it's a couple of private schools playing against each other. It's super swanky, at least for Southeast Michigan, private schools. That's who's playing each other. And it was a freshman football game. And I'm there because our freshman football coach was like, hey, man, we're going to be seeing this team. We've never seen them. Would you mind going? Mostly I was doing varsity games all year, but that one time I'm like, listen, man, yeah, I'll go check that one out. I'll get you a bunch of intel. Because the nights that those teams were playing, our team was also playing. So their coaches couldn't go watch, right, because they had a game. So there I am. I'm at this swanky private school. Had to pay to get into a freshman football game, which was weird. Now I walk all the way around to the stands, the appropriate stands. I happen to be wearing blue, and one of the teams was blue and white. So I wanted to fit in, right? I didn't want to make it clear that I'm from some third team that's not there. So I'm on the blue team side, and I get all the way up to the top of the stands. I'm there early. I set up my tripod. I set up my camera. And I'm watching everything. I'm walking down there. I'm watching everything. And then I get set, and the national anthem starts to play. Well, I mean, again, here's a good opportunity to learn what the culture is of a school when you see the national anthem going. So I look out, and of course, on the field, it's what you expect. Okay, the teams are lined up. Maybe they're organized about it. Maybe they're not. They've all got their helmets off. The coaches are. There's nobody milling around. Like both these schools, you can tell that they're well coached as far as like discipline, character, things like that, which mean a lot. They're all watching the flag, and they're all very engrossed in the national anthem. And I even look like across, on the other side, outside of the game field, there's a practice field, and I can see one of the blue teams was warming up there, probably the JV team getting ready to come play after. And they could hear the national anthem. You could see that they all stopped what they were doing, pulled their helmets off. Now, they weren't lined up, but they were at practice. But they all stopped what they were doing, found the flag, and they showed respect, showed appreciation for their country, right? That's what they did. And I'm like, oh, cool. This is my kind of thing, right? I wasn't in the military, but I believe our country is still the best place in the world to live. And then I firmly believe that having honor and loyalty for your country can exist aside from having honor and loyalty towards your government. Those are two separate things. I think right now we have our country is still great and awesome. Our government is not. So I still see that our country is awesome, and that's what I appreciate about being where we are. So there's that. I don't need to get into the politics of it. That just happens to be my personal belief. I love the national anthem. Huge fan. Since I was a beginning coach 20 years ago, I can remember standing on the sideline at the national anthem, and it was like it was a forced prayer session almost. It was a meditation. You're quiet, you're focused, you're thinking about one thing, and that's that flag waving. And I chose to make it an appreciation thing. For me, it was, wow, I made it. I paid my way through college. It was impossible. I was homeless for a while. I couldn't find food, and now I'm a college graduate with a teaching job. And here I am coaching football. I'm so lucky to be here. I remember thinking that very clearly because I thought it on purpose every national anthem. You know what I mean? To me, that's a big deal. So I know I'm beating around the bush here, but I'm establishing background for you, okay? So national anthem's playing, and I even saw people who were still making their way to the stands stopped where they were. Like they were walking across the field, and they stopped, found the flag. Everybody did, except for one guy who very conspicuously stomped his way up aluminum stands and sat down in the front row, pulled out his phone, and started playing on it. Grown man now, okay? At a very swanky private school. Really well-dressed guy, okay? And he had a couple little boys with him, probably under 5 years old, the two of them, right? So, and to me, it just looked so contrived. Like it was, I'm being civil, I'm disobedient. It's civil disobedience. I don't, fuck that flag, and fuck this country. A couple people kind of looked at him, and I caught a couple dirty looks, and Then the anthem ends. He stands up, walks up to the top of the stands, kind of, I don't know, 50 feet to my right, because I was up at the top, right? And he's all the way up at the top. And he proceeded to stand up to watch the rest of the game. So clearly he had no inability to stand up. The guy was not handicapped in any way. And, I just wanted to eliminate possible factors. I didn't want to make a bunch of assumptions, and I wasn't going to go interview the guy. You know what I mean? So I thought to myself, shit, it's Thursday, and it's like 4 p.m., right? So you'd assume that for this guy to get there, he probably had to leave work early. He was dressed real nice. And, I figured out during the game that one of his sons was playing for one of these swanky schools, the blue team, right? Playing against the red team. Because he's like he's signaling to his kid shit to do. He's coaching him from the bleachers, which, as a coach, I'm sure you can imagine what I feel about that. Like, shut your fucking mouth. You weren't here all week. You don't have any idea what's going on. We got this. You do your job of parenting. We'll do our job of coaching. And that's that. But my thought was, fuck, man, you're obviously, you got some money. You live in a country where, you have a good job. You probably drive a pretty nice car, judging by who was parked around me. You're out early on a weekday. You're dressed real nice. So you got a little bit of money. You got enough money to send your kid to a pretty expensive fucking private school, right? Where being an athlete is held in super high regard. Here we are in this facility that this school spent a shit ton of money to build. It's a beautiful stadium. To honor the football gods, essentially. I mean, yeah, sure, soccer plays in that stadium and probably lacrosse, but they wouldn't build that stadium for those two sports. They built it for football. So this is where you are in your world. You live in a country that has all of that shit. And looking at this guy, he looked like he probably was pretty athletic when he was younger. I mean, he's probably in his 40s, at that time. But, bro, how about you look at what's good in your life instead of bitching about thinking shit's bad? I mean, my thoughts were how ineffective this guy looked. You know what I mean? Like, I would direct this guy to fucking move, man. Change your environment. You know what I mean? If this country is so fucking bad, you're so pissed off about it, and it is so victimized you, what are you doing here? Why are you still here? You're I'm gonna show who I am, virtue signal, but I won't stand up in the national anthem. But I will take advantage of every other fucking thing about this country that I can't do anywhere else. You can't go to Mexico and watch an American football game in a stadium like that. Not at a high school. You can't go to Canada. Fuck, the game's totally different. They don't have the socioeconomic background we do. They don't have the money. They don't have nearly as many private schools. This is the only place in the world, probably the only time in the history of mankind, that you can do what you're doing right now, bro. And you're going to bitch about it? So first of all, try to be a little appreciative of what you have in your life. Second, do you know how much of a shitbag it makes you look like? Not just judging because I hold different beliefs, but you are saying, I'm not going to stand up for the anthem because this country has wronged me. Well, if you hate it so much, get the fuck out of here. Walk, dude. There's lots of places you can go to. But this is a country where you can play football and become a millionaire. And that's not good enough for you? No. The fuck else do we need to do? Sitting through an anthem, it's just whining. It fixes nothing and it changes less than nothing. What it does is it tells everybody else that you are ineffective. That you are unable to change your circumstances. Even though you have all these good things that you clearly don't appreciate, you still are finding a fucking problem with it. That's just you. That's you being impotent. It's you being unable to change your world or your life. You know what I mean? It makes you look like shit to do that. If you focus on the negatives in the world and anywhere really in your whole life, it's going to lead you to be, I don't know, probably as obviously unhappy as that guy was during the national anthem. You could see it on his face. He was so angry. And he's probably on his phone just feeding off of some negative media, fucking social media bullshit, telling him that he's right. You know what I mean? I just can't imagine living in a mind like that. It must be fucking terrible. And you know what else I thought? I'm like, Well, he had these 3 boys. Where's mom? Where's mom? Maybe she can't stand your negative ass. That's why she's not here. You know? Dude, look around your life and look at this bullshit attitude and what it's doing for you. It's certainly not helping you. Ryan Mickler, I talk about him somewhat often. He has this line, I quoted it in my book. It says, "The world isn't against you. The world is not for you either. The world just is. You make your way through it. There are no forces that are going to hold you down except in your own head. And if you're in a place where, say you got a job where you think you're not moving up because of what you look like or who you are, get a fucking different job. There's a million jobs out there. Or you could sit back and bitch. You got that choice too, but you just make yourself look like shit and you certainly don't improve. I mean, there's a third option, and this is controversial, but you could choose to appreciate the shit that you do have in that job that you think is so bad. You could do that. I don't know, just an idea. You know what I mean? Charles Dickens said this. I also quoted this in the book. "Reflect upon your present blessings, of which every man has plenty, not your past misfortunes, of which all men have some." And I had this conversation with, you guys, you'll hear it in a little bit with Matt Stevens. It's coming out in a couple weeks. About how important those failures are in your life. I mean, yeah, you've had misfortune. I have. And it's no different than any other thing that's hard. I work out every day. It's uncomfortable. It hurts. I'm literally, physically breaking myself down. But I repair and get stronger from that. I repair and get bigger. I repair and get more capable from that. And your misfortunes are exactly the fucking same. You know what I mean? I would tell you, of all the things in your life to be appreciative, it's the fucking hurdles that have been put in front of you that you should be the most appreciative of. Because you as men, you know this. At least you better. I talk about it all the time. It's your failures that make you strong. And the opposite of that, if you don't have difficulty, if you don't have adversity, you will get weaker. There is no, Jordan Peterson says this all the time, there is no such thing as staying the same. There's improving and there's moving backwards. And that's all. Improving only happens when you test yourself. How do you test yourself? Struggling. Now, you can't struggle 24/7. Peterson says that you want 1 foot in that struggle area, 1 foot in chaos, and 1 foot in order. That's where you want to be. That's where your premier growth is going to be. Maybe work is tough, but home is awesome. Right? That's where you want to be. That's where you're going to grow. Maybe home is tough, but work is awesome. And that's where you're going to grow. You've got some struggle. You've got some shit that's going real well. That's what you want all the time. That's when you grow. That's how you get better. So that's the only point I was trying to get to with all of this appreciation stuff today is that the thing you should be most appreciative of are the things that are challenges to you. Your haters, your people that don't believe in you, the people who say you can't do it, your injuries, your difficulties, the times you got fired, the times you've been to jail, the times you've got divorced, the times that women have broken your heart and left you. I've had all those things. And what they do is make me more capable of handling those things. And certainly far less afraid of them. Far less afraid of them. I don't worry about any of that shit anymore. If I get a job and I get fired, so fucking what? I've been through that a million times. I don't give a shit, which means that I won't work in the manner that I'm trying to not get fired. I can work trying to be great at it because I don't even think about getting fired. And it's the same mentality in a relationship. I won't work in my relationship trying so that she won't leave me. I will work in a relationship trying to make it as great as I can make it. There's a very different, I guess, aim there, right? You're looking further downfield when you're trying to make a great relationship. You're looking way further downfield when you're trying to make your business better, right? So that's where appreciation comes in. Don't be like that fucking jackass in the national anthem. I just look at that guy with it. Obviously I have a little bit of negative feelings towards him, but mostly pity. You live your life like that, it's got to suck. He's a shit driver. He's an asshole. I projected a lot of shit on this guy. I don't know. That guy had everything, right? when compared to, I go to my grocery store and there's this guy named Keith. And he's low IQ. I don't know what you call it, special ed, exceptional, whatever you call it, but he's obviously low. He's like a little kid. But he's a grown man, big, strong grown man. He's a bagger at the grocery store. That guy's the happiest motherfucker I ever met. He's happy every time I see him. And he probably lives in a group home or with his parents. You know, he works as a grocery bagger, but he's always happy. Because he can see, I don't know, I guess I don't know exactly why that is, but I know that it is. It is the way that it is. You know, I bet Keith, maybe he wouldn't trade to have a normal mind like this guy at the football game, but I bet he'd do more with it. Maybe he wouldn't trade to have a family like that guy, but I bet he'd raise him better. You know what I mean? A guy like Keith who's been through what he's been through. Be appreciative. Be appreciative of the things that hold you back, because they just make you better. All right, my name is Travis Neville. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. I hope that in some way today's show helped you to get your shit together. I will see you next week.